We've talked quite a bit before about leaks on our Leopard 45 catamaran. We've had leaks coming in our windows, down our hatches, through our deck fittings, through the chain plates, and in the front door. But what else? See if you can guess. Is it A, the crossbeam bolts, B, the black tank system, C, the plumbing fittings, or D, the swim ladder? I didn't tell you which swim ladder. Emergency or normal, doesn't matter. Your choice, it doesn't change the game. The answer? All of the above. This video is going to focus on one that is extremely relevant to us right now, and that is the black tanks. One of the ickiest systems on the boat. We are going to tell you what we noticed, what we found out that was wrong, and whether or not the person who actually did all of the repairs has actually been paid. You might be able to guess. Our Leopard 45 has two black tanks, one in the starboard forward and one in the port aft bathroom that also serves the port forward bathroom. The system runs from the toilet into the tank and then out of the boat, with our pump out spot being sensibly located on the deck. I say that because another brand I've seen had theirs in the saloon. During Cape Town, where our boat was handed over with the absolute clusterfuck of issues going on, one of the things the boys overlooked was to pressure test and fill and drain the black tanks to test for issues. It's worth noting that due to the state of the boat, they also weren't able to live on it for most of that time either. By the time the boat arrived in Italy for its second haul out, down in Tynan's hull, it stunk like in the bilge. It was during this stay that a leak in one of the hoses was detected, so a temporary fix was done with the intention to replace it with rated hose at an appropriate time. The issue was reported to Leopard at the time, and then fast forwarding many months later, while we were here in Trinidad, we received a shipment, and among that shipment there was new hose. So as part of the warranty works, the hose that had the hole in it that was leaking had to be replaced. Now that hose sat here, and that job just we were not getting a concrete answer on when and who was going to be doing it. And as time progressed, we were getting closer and closer to what we thought would be our launch date. Obviously, that didn't work out. But anyway, we were working towards this goal that we would be launched before this hurricane season. And with the pipes still sitting there, it was a matter of, well, it needs to be done. No one's doing anything. When we bring it up with the contractor, they say, we're not plumbers, you deal with it. So we did. Tynan pulled apart his black tank and he found a lot more than he bargained for.
So I'm currently replacing the black tank hose to the 3-hole down there, the large white one, because it has a hole in it. So I've been filling it up using the deck fitting, this large hose here, and you can see a puddle has formed in the corner there. You see it forming, running down, drizzling down. So thankfully the tank's never got so full that wasn't water. I noticed whilst I was trying to get this pipe off that it's actually that gap is opening up as I'm trying to break this pipe free. The whole thing is just turning. They've over-torqued them all. Every corner's cracked. Corner's all cracked as well. So this is the port side black tank that was leaking. It was leaking from the hose that connects to here. The main discharge hose had a pinhole in it. This fitting here on the side was leaking. You can see the brown staining. That's where the main leak was. But also this fitting isn't all that tight either. Like I can turn it with my hand. so it was probably contributing to the leak. This fitting was leaking from the hose. It was just dribbling out down the side. And this fitting, the overflow fitting, was leaking as well. And you can see that the whole base is spinning. You can also see some brown standing around the inspection hatches, so while they weren't leaking, I guess they were contributing to the smell. I mean, this is probably the main reason why the bilge on the port side always had a bad smell to it. Ever since Cape Town, it always had this pungent smell. Cleaned it multiple times and could just never get rid of it. Now that I've taken the fittings out, I've cleaned all of the Sikaflex off that they were using as a sealant. You can see on this side that was leaking, there's a large step in the surface. It's not actually flat. That's never going to seal. Like, it's got a huge rock in it. Well, I'm not sure what the best way to do it is. I don't want to grind that back. Mind you, the fiberglass is pretty thick there, so I might be able to just get a Dremel or something and grind that down and get this completely flat.
You've now got to figure out some way to get it flat so you don't have poop leaking out of a tank.
Yeah, and the glass is pretty thick, so I might be able to grind it flat. If not, I might just have to try and use some epoxy, some West Systems epoxy, and build it flat. Now I'm just marking with the pencil where it's touching, taking it off, then using a finger file, an electric finger file to take it off, to take that fiberglass off, and then it should sit reasonably flat like this one.
Because that's why you bought a catamaran, so that you could fix your own shit tank.
Oh, got a nice valve on the bottom now.
As well as changing some of the plastic fittings for metal, Tynan also fitted a low-profile bronze-through hull skim fitting to the bottom of the tank that allows for more effective draining. Now, having found all those issues with the port tank, he did what any sensible boat owner should do.
What any masochist would do.
And decided that while we were on the hardstand, he should check the starboard tank as well, just to ensure that none of the poor workmanship that affected the port side was also affecting the starboard side. And that, as I'm sure you can imagine, was a very good move.
Could hear just drip, 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 and then I turned around and it was all water across here and water all running down, and you can still see.
This is toilet water.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to do a load of washing today because there was some clothes under that.
Yeah.
Can you just shove the trash down in there? So now also the bilge is gonna need cleaning, isn't it?
Yeah. So
show me the top.
I took the door off.
Oh geez, that's a lot of water.
Yeah, I took the door off, and then that's basically everything's covered. There's quite a nice puddle.
So you're gonna flush it and let us see what happens.
Yeah. Also, I think this whole tank has fallen.
It doesn't seem to be.
It's sitting. It's not sitting right.
Sitting at an angle.
Yeah.
How are they actually mounted?
They're just strapped in on these really sketchy.
So they're not even formally mounted, they're just strapped in. Oh my god, stop! It's coming out the hole at the top.
Oh really? Yeah, I don't want to fill it up anymore. It's alright. It's alright.
In total, Tynan spent 65 hours working on the black tanks, fixing the issues so that we would no longer be dealing with these black tanks leaking liquid and gases into the spaces where we sleep. 65 hours that he's not been paid for. These hours were submitted to Leopard as part of the warranty work hours that was sent a couple of months ago, and that was done under a verbal agreement that they would look at the hours and see what they wanted to do. The context being that previous agreements with work hours, they had been paid out, and we were doing the work under the assumption that there was a common goal of having the boat ready and launched so that we could enjoy the tail end of the Caribbean season before the hurricane season started. To date, no formal response has been given, and to me that's unacceptable. I believe that these hours should have been looked at the time that they were sent in, and then a response given, whether that response was yes, we'll pay, no, we're not going to pay, or could you please provide us with some more evidence? And spent 65 hours working on our toilet tanks. After spending the last year trying his best to facilitate and accommodate repairs through unprofessional behaviour that deteriorated over time, and while we understand that this was not what Leopard wanted, it still has an impact. 65 hours. To some people that's going to sound like a lot at face value, but there was a lot wrong with these tanks. And before you could even start repairing the problems with the tanks, you need to thoroughly clean the tanks and the fittings. And that's something that takes a long time and is something that no one wants to do. Tynan is not one to mess about. He stoically marches forward, getting things done, because he wants to finally get out there and get cruising. Since moving onto this boat in Cape Town, he's not spent a single night sleeping off it, dealing with warranty almost day in and day out. I'm very lucky to call him my crewmate and friend, and I don't know that we would be here if he wasn't part of our crew. As things progress, I will keep you all updated. Hopefully this is just a case of a corporation taking an absurdly long amount of time to do something just due to the size and the way it's structured, but we will see. In good news, powerboats have started the repair of the shelter following the partial collapse last week in the rain, and we are still working towards having a familiar face return to Trinidad who, with their skills and the way that they value integrity, it's just going to be so nice to have them back out here.